Nowadays, what we are finding that the present time is very challenging. We have become very aspirational. We have a lot of ambitious agenda. So naturally, a lot of material planning also. So in this world, where stress has become part and parcel of our life, in this digital world, where mobile is also distracting our attention, and the attention span also. So, viewed from this angle, how we can increase the threshold of tolerance so that we can become more and more aware about the wisdom of meditation.
Thank you. The key point is understanding is there's different levels of an individual. There's the surface level of sensory perception, thinking, feeling, but there's also the deep level of self-awareness. It's a field of pure consciousness, a level of life that permeates all of life. It's talked about as Atma, as Samadhi. That is the value of who we are. And rooting yourself in that field, it gives you a perspective. It allows you to see that all of this change on the surface isn't going to be useful. It's not going to bring you happiness. It's not going to bring you health. It's not really going to bring you success. And that really success comes from turning within. And it's not that you want to leave all of your social responsibilities. As Dr. Nader was saying in the meeting today, that it's 200% of life. We should be completely fulfilled internally, but also completely capable to be very successful in the material world. And how that happens is you become less reliant on your material activity to give you happiness. Your happiness comes from within. And the reason you're acting is you see a need. There's a need that something needs to be done. And it's very fulfilling to see the need and respond to the need. And so it changes the whole direction of why we act and so on.
So today we are meeting most of the times in a spiritual field as well as in other fields of the society. What we are witnessing and experiencing, that people are frustrated, and frustration is a kind of gap between expectation level and achievement level. So what is happening if you are talking to anyone, you are not getting a kind of right response. Most of the people are reacting and reacting, they are not responding. So if we are reacting most of the time, then our energy is wasted. So how the meditation is going to reconcile the matrix between response and reaction?
That's a nice dichotomy. Reacting is not done thoughtfully. It's done on a very primitive level of response. Responding comes from seeing the larger situation. I think it completely depends on the nature of the mind. It's like if consciousness is a light, it streams out through the senses to the world. What we want to do is just turn up the light. And as you turn up the light, you see a little bit more clearly how you relate to other things around you. And if you do that, there's no possibility you can react because you see the world's my family. So my response to the situation has to be, how can I help everyone grow? Rather than, I have to protect myself, or how can I increase my bank account? How can I get a new car or something? You look more at the larger situation. And it's not something you do in your head. It's more how the quality of consciousness has changed. And so that every experience you have is begin to see in a much larger light. But I'd like that difference between reacting and responding. And this will happen if we're overtired, we tend to react. If we're under a lot of stress, we tend to react. If we're not physically fit, we tend to react. So you need to take care of yourself. Good sleep, good food, good exercise, meditation to explore inner self, and then you'll find very naturally you'll see the world in a different space.
You have done PhD on this sleep therapy, and of course after that you are teaching meditation in USA. So how do you think that sleep is considered as a complete medicine? If you are not taking proper rest through sleep, we can suffer from so many maladjustments. So what's your take on it?
Thank you for that. Just why do we sleep? 8 hours of our life, 1/3 of our life, we're lights out. I mean, what a waste. 30%. But it's really not a waste. What happens during the day is we use and reuse chemicals in the brain. They break down. and they accumulate. Science calls it sleep dirt. Sleep dirt. It's just all these chemicals that have broken down. You make about 7 grams of sleep dirt. It fills a teaspoon heaping. And what sleep is doing, actually the support cells constrict, they become smaller, and it pulls the fluids through the brain and it washes out the sleep dirt. Sleep is critical. It's critical for us to be functioning at our highest level. And you don't have to tell someone that. If they lose 2 or 3 hours of sleep, you can drive, you can do your job, but you don't have that sparkle in life. You don't have that creative insight. It's just not there. And so sleep is probably the number one factor which contributes to emotional problems, contributes to unhappiness, contributes to physical problems. And it's something that if we could appreciate the value of it, we would just prioritize our life. And so that's step number one. Because what we want to do is we want to optimize the current brain structure, the current physiological functioning we have. Step number two is add meditation experience. And meditation experience, especially that of the experience of unbounded inner pure consciousness. Because that leads to a whole new style of brain functioning. You begin to refine the brain circuits you have. So sleeping, exercise, diet just optimizes your current circuits. Meditations help to develop new ones. And both are needed. And then what you do is you get this cycle of growth. And you're beginning to see the world more and more in terms of what it is. It's a highly integrated, perfect harmony of differences. And you begin to appreciate where you fit in and where you can actually support that.
World is moving towards interfaith harmony. People of different races, different religion, different culture, they are living together and they are melting down together. That's why it is said that developed societies had become like a melting pot. So, but sometimes people, are also believing in religion, also believing in spirituality. So first I shall like to know, so from your angle, what is the difference between religion and spirituality? And can meditation become the currency of unified world?
Excellent. So first, religion versus spirituality. I see spirituality as the core, as the energy, the electricity of the religion. The religion are structured forms and forces and rituals and so on. And they're there to support people having the experience. But what can happen is if the experience goes away, what you do is you get these calcified structures. You go to your temple, you go to your church, you go to your synagogue, your mosque. You do different things, but you don't have the subjective spiritual glow that was supposed to be there. So spirituality, I think, is really the core of what's important. And
No, no, please.
okay. And so what is happening today, I think many people are realizing it, that religions, they have a form, but they don't have the force. So because of that, they're leaving religion and they're exploring spirituality through meditation practices, through different philosophies. I think meditation is important because spirituality isn't an intellective, cognitive task. It's not something you think about. It's actually a fundamental experience inside where you realize that you're whole, you're full. You realize that you're not confined to this little body, that you actually permeate the world around you. And that's fundamentally who you are. And that value of life comes out through your mind and your body, and you express things outside of yourself. But it's more the physiology. The brain is as if a vehicle, a lens to allow this ocean of knowledge to come out and to excite the world. And the point about different faiths, I think it's important that people don't abandon their culture and their faith. It's very, by analogy, imagine we have a rug and it has the same colored fibers, they're all the same size. It's going to be a very boring rug. But if this rug has different colors, different size threads, it's very rich and it's a very deep tapestry. And that's what I hope will happen as the cultures are coming together, that they don't meld and become this brown, common, ordinary, where you're losing the power of what was there. But you maintain your traditions and your culture, and you also appreciate other traditions and cultures. And that, I think, when that happens, I think then spirituality will rise as being just the nature of the most important thing to gain in life. It's not money, it's not a bank account. It's that deep inner spiritual wealth.
You have already visited India 11 times, and India is not a country, this is a continent. And there is a diversity of language, culture, costume, food, and local traditions also. So, how do you capture the different frames of India?
Wow. Um, I see them as differences, but fundamentally they're all rooted in the Ved. They're all rooted in a system of knowledge of inner subjectivity, a system of knowledge of what is deep inside is what important to gain because that helps us to understand what's outside. And so with based in the Ved, you can have different expressions coming up, and they don't need to conflict. They don't need to try to gain one over the other, but each one can respect the other. And that's a great value that I see in India. And I think there's a saying in India that the guest is God. And I have that experience when I go in to see a family. I feel very welcomed, very warmed by them, as though they're my best friends, as though I've known them for a long time. And at first I was wondering, what is this? What's? But it's just the flowing of heart. That's the point. India might look on the surface all of this change, all of this wide range of economic strength, and so on. But you pierce beneath the surface, and you see that value of the Ved, which is important. That value of respect of the individual, that value of embracing others. And that's the great joy I see when I come to India.